Welcome to the Ohio State Beekeepers Education Training Series. All right, I want to welcome everybody tonight to the PowerPoint 2. And we're actually going to put together a PowerPoint from actual scratch. Just some things to cover. Previously, we talked about other PowerPoints. So if you have photos and different things that you like, you can start putting together a repository of your different PowerPoints, photos and things you like on that. This is the PowerPoint we're going to start from absolute scratch. So clicking it, popping it up tonight, we're just going to use PowerPoint, the Office edition or the Microsoft edition. And that way we can turn on, and that's something everybody can get. Please remember, there's also Open Office, there's Google Slides, and each one of those is going to have different buttons or selections of animation and things like that that you can do. This is probably the most sophisticated as far as options, inserting video, animation, slideshow. You can actually record right to it, but the files are absolutely huge. The other thing you want to start doing is saving all kinds of pictures. And remember, this is like a filing cabinet. So as your file cabinet starts to build, beekeeping, borders, club logos, this could be anything. It could be family photos. Remember PNGs. They have a transparent background, but the object is what you want. So if you have a colored background, if it's white, you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to start kind of spicing things up or things moving around without a background or starting to stack graphics, that'd be a good way to do that. The other thing we're going to do is learn tonight a little bit about backgrounds and some things you can do so you don't have to have a template like they have. It's always good to use. To start off the first couple talks, if you have a template that you use and it's yours, that's great. If you want to start getting to other things, I'll show you some tips and tricks on that. And this will also, as far as the repository, collecting pictures and your backgrounds and selections like that, will also tie into next week, March 15th, into graphics 2, how to manipulate these things so you can use them in a PowerPoint, in a slideshow, in a invitation, and doing things like that. The other things I have up, this is part of the Zoom off to the side here, so please forgive that. And please remember OSBA is putting this on for the better education of clubs. The recordings are all in the education training series. You can go in there and just click it and listen to it. At the top, it gives you the real quick play button, full screen, and minimize. So as you hover above these, there's your full screen. Welcome to the Ohio State Beekeepers Education Training Series. Minimize, click it again, and pause. So you can go all through those. Some of the home things we were talking about last time and that Kathy kind of threw in, using Google. So if you're backing up your phone, how can I take these? I took a small video tonight, just walking around a couple hives up near my driveway. So how could I use this on my phone or devices and then just download it and back it up? And it's easy to remove. And then we have the remove software. So if I have that white background or I don't want all the other things around my photo, I can put it in remove that out and put it in my PowerPoint and save it and start building up my repository from that. Any questions up to this part for Carol, Clay, or Joseph? Everybody good? Okay. Some of the things on here when you start up, and this, all I did is hit File and Start, and it just started up a brand new PowerPoint. After you start kind of getting what you want to do, you can click on this and just hit Delete. I like starting off with a brand new slate. I have a couple templates that I like that I've kind of revisioned over the years. So tonight we're just going to have, let's just grab a basic background. So this is the kind of background that I want now. You can either find it, you found it on the web, you've created it, and I'll show you in graphics 2 how to create these things and make it your own. So in any good PowerPoint, once I start creating these PowerPoints, I want a revision number. So in the center here, I'm going to pick the alphabet, the A for it. I'm going to click it off the side. I'm going to put version 1.1. I'm going to pull this down into the corner. And if anything, that's just for your own. So when you start to redo this, and you went and put on that audience, and you went and or done it in front of your family, and they went, or you make changes, you can still save this as version 1.1. The next one you do, or you go in here and edit this, have it version 1.2, or you let it be your own, 2.1, or you could use the day's date. Anything to make it so when you go to fetch that, okay, yes, I added in X amount of slides, or I added X amount of things to make it a little bit better. Then you can go through here and say, okay, then you start building a repository of also your presentations. So in this, excuse me, I can start adding different things in. So I'm going to minimize this over here because there's a few things we used before. In your introduction, I like using PNGs and kind of making this about my talk. This could be an introductory talk. It could be about just basic honeybees. For most of us, we're doing this for honey. We're doing this for pollination around our house and like that. Let me go to my PNG, and I'm using my repository off to the side. I'm going to let's grab a couple honeybees out of this. And you can make this plain, simple. You could add it up a little bit. And let's add in, let's see over here. I'm going to grab in some pollen. So just some different things that maybe this is what you're good at. You collect honey, you have it in sales in different sizes, and then you can also take pictures of your own stuff. This doesn't have to be clip art or anything. It could be, if you do, take the photo with a solid background. That way, when you take it into the remover, the BG remover, you can turn on, it'll strip it right out. And these are all your own products. So this presentation really feels more for you because you have a lot more to it. I want to put my name in here. When you start typing, sometimes it doesn't always go out the way it should. Jamie Walters. When you start using your fonts, the font cage around the outside is just that. So I'm going to go in here. If I want to blow it up, I want to use fonts that are going to be loud, but they're nice and clean so people can read them from a distance. But please remember your audience on this. So I can put this down in the center. And a lot of this, and this is PowerPoint, this is the real version of Windows PowerPoint. When you move things around, it automatically shows you that it's on the center line. So if things are nice and clean, move it down below. It'll show you that you're aligned with the B. This up top shows you you're in the middle of the gap. So let's just put this down below. Let's add another one. And we're going to say introduction. Gonna pull this out. Introduction to beekeeping. All right, let's do it. Instead of that, we'll put facts. Important facts about beekeeping. And this could be a child's, you could do this talk for kids. You could do this talk for adults, garden clubs. And let's blow this up. Let's take most of that screen. Something that kind of lays out nice. I can change the color of it, give it a nice yellow, and you'll start getting your own kind of color layout, your kind of layout as far as what you want. And let's not go much further than that. Let's go 7280. So you can dress this up. Every once in a while, I'll come in here and put a line. You can do different color lines in it. And this is kind of offsetting that the important facts about beekeeping, and you can start putting things in. So a nice cover thing that when people come in, I always like to have my PowerPoint up and running so people turn on, see it, the important facts about beekeeping. So they've already got it in their head. They've already got it ready that they're going to hear the important parts about beekeeping. Jamie Walters is your presenter, and just a few, characters of photos of your own. This could be the photos of your hive, and they could be off to the side, left or right. And that version number is that for me, this works for me. I know that when I built this, there's always room for improvement. So if I did it and all of a sudden I'm looking out through the audience and all of a sudden I see people squinting or people taking pictures, there's if they're squinting and they want to move up, that means my fonts are too small. If they're taking pictures in that, you've kind of hit one over the park a little bit. On my next slide, if I want to do some animation with this, and this is just in your beginning, I can click on the font or the slide that I want, right click once, and I can duplicate that slide. So if there's something I wanted to change about that, maybe I wanted to take on the next click on my mouse, I want my name to go away, but I want this bee to fly right out past the screen. Something interesting, something attention getting, you can turn on have that, or I can say, okay, I want the bee to take off, but on the second slide, I want my name to be in here, and I'm going to drop this pollen here. So it's just a change up. Some got a little bit of equilibrium with that. There's this honey at the top. To me, looks a little bit better. A little symmetrical. So now I'm going to take this bee on my first slide, and this is all how kind of animatronics or animated you want to be in it. So when you turn on and go to your bee, my animation, I can have it appear, I can have it take a path. What I'm going to do is right now, I'm just going to have it appear. So it's going to show you a small number 1. And then later on, as we move this, we'll start having an animation where it flies around and does different things. So I go back to my home key. Now the important facts. If I still like that background, I can stay with it just by duplicating the slide. And then make sure you're on your slide here. And now I'm going to take that out. Oh, let's leave the honey back in for right now. Let's delete this. Let's delete the version number. I'm going to keep that same style font, but I'm going to put in here 1 pound of honey. So 1 pound of honey, what's it take to get that 1 pound of honey? Again, I'm looking at it to be symmetrical. I want the lettering to pop a little bit. I want to fill up the screen. I don't want to cram things in, but I don't want things to be overly crammed in where people are looking at tons and tons of objects. So looking at my flow up at the top, the bee is going to take off flying in a minute. The introduction, and this is something I try to set up with the presenter where I'm going to is, are they going to do my introduction or do I need to do it? And you can make this about yourself. You could have it flash in here and do, I'm a 18-year beekeeper, or I do this for honey and a little bit about yourself. You can have this be your own. So a nice little slide is coming down to 1 pound of honey. We're going to put some other facts in here. And we're going to take, and let's do a bullet point. Let's do a bullet point here. It takes 1, 2, 3 to make. And this can be absolutely, you can start taking facts out of this. What's that? I'm sorry.
2 million what?
2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey.
You got to add the flowers.
Oh, true. Takes 2 million flowers. to make. And this is right now, you're just constructing it, so it doesn't have to be absolute perfect. You can play with size. And sometimes, and don't take this absolute literal that you have to get it perfect each time. And let's say 2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey. They fly at 15 miles per hour. And then you can turn on and go in here and start putting all your bee facts that relate to that making 1 pound of honey. You can put in there that, anything that relates to that. And I'm not going to go through and build a huge thing out. But that to start out with could be a perfectly good slide. Oop, move the background. Yeah, and just if you move something, hit Control and Z on your keyboard, and it takes it right back. So if you make a mistake, instead of trying to move it right back to that perfect spot, you can do it that way. Yes, Carol. You're on mute.
Control V as in venom.
Yep.
B as in, okay.
Control Z.
Z.
Z. So if this is off to the side, I hit Control Z and it puts it right back where it was. As you move it, you'll actually see the alignments pop right up on the screen. So it's telling me that, yes, this is a little close. And there's alignment here. If I want to kind of align things perfectly, right about there is perfect between the other two. And then you can turn on and put, let's just say, a Q&A. So at the end of it, you're going to have a small little Q&A about that 1 pound of honey. Nice slide. Pretty simple. You're going to know the background as a beekeeper. As the general public, you're going to take their breath away that, oh, it takes this. You could put a small tree with it in the background. Some other things you can do with this. So if I like this slide, I'm just going to leave it. Build this thing up to 20, 30 slides before you start critiquing yourself about, okay, it's too much information or it's not enough. For me, I go through it as I'm building this. I'm running through the slideshow about how each time I click, what's going to pop up, how is it going to flow, and what's it going to sound like. So just a basic thing. A lot of people, when you have this, we're going to talk about the transitions right now. Instead of your click and your slide's going to pop up. So when you start out, you're going to hit click. Your B is going to appear. On the next one, you can turn on and set it up this way. Transition. And transition means it's going to pop up. Or you can turn on and do an animation where it's going to appear. Let's just have that fly in. So on my next click, it's going to come in. It's going to flip to this screen. When I click it the next time, so that's my first one for this slide, it's going to pop up Jamie Walters. And I can get rid of this because that was on my first slide. I can go down to here. When you're doing this, a nice thing to do is instead of flooding them with information, is give them information one line at a time. And you have to practice this in your presentation also. So as I click this line, I want to highlight all the information on it. The animation is all the animation you can have here that's going to pop up. You can have it wave, you can have it split, you can have it fade in. I'm going to have it fly in from the bottom. So I'm going to do the same thing to the next one. Click all the information that you want on the next click. You notice the one up here. The next one's going to be number 2. That one's going to fly in. Try not to have, and it depends. There's some, and watch a lot of other speakers. If you put way too much animation, there's tons and tons of words, then all of a sudden you're trying to read that as the next one's flying in, and try to have them do the same pattern per that slide. so they're not sliding in left, right, and everything else. So if I go to this now, and let's just go ahead and do slideshow. Okay, so I'm going to let me pick this screen here. Let's do display settings. We're going to swap so everybody can see. So on this one, as I click the mouse, there's my first one. Takes 2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey. They fly at 15 miles an hour, related this 1 pound of honey. Or another fact, or then we're going to open up to a Q&A. Each time I click, it's going to go to that next one. And knowing how many clicks you have left is a really good thing too. Okay, so let's start with our first. Our second, I want to go back to slideshow again. We're going to go ahead and swap this out one more time. So this second slide, when I click that, it pulls my name up. So I am Jamie Walters, and you can do your little intro right there. So there's just basic, simple, nice and easy. 1, 2, 3. So I kind of have that. And there's the end. So let's go ahead and let's build this up a little bit more. On your design, you can really start getting design or color themed in this whole thing. Also, you can custom draw everything. The lasso, start by drinking or lassoing out different things, cutting it out. There's the ruler. If you really want to start laying things out perfectly, there's a ruler with that also. Inserting pictures. And we're just going to build 4 or 5 slides up. So now I'm talking about honey. I want to take my next slide. I want to change it around from my introduction and I start talking about honey off the bat. I can duplicate it. Yeah, I want to change the color or I want to change something in it. So you can cut it. And I want to go in here and just make a brand new slide. They automatically give you space to do things. I don't like their lineup, so I'm going to pick my own lineup. I'm going to come over here and pick something. Now we're really going to start talking about bees. And here, here's one that everybody has seen before. And I want to approve that. So now we're going to talk about maybe some of the bees. This is just, and I'm going to put together a whole PDF of all the sites you can go to and take all these. They're called background or screen resolutions. And you can go in there on the internet, and I got lots of sites that don't have the spam or anything else. And you can start taking these background pictures. If you don't have them, you can use there, and they're royalty free. That means you don't have to pay to use them. So now I want to start talking about some of the stuff about bees. Notice the color has changed around. It's going to draw their attention into it. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to insert some wording on this. So I put the wording in and all about the bees. Again, a nice little title with it. Same kind of font. We're going to change the color a little bit so it stands out. And you can also pick the coloring out of the bees. You can take the eyedropper and come over here and pick some browns so you can have it match the color theme of the slide. And I love doing that because it looks a little bit better. Now my wording kind of matches up this slope a little bit. I can pull it out a little bit. I can change it around. I can put it all off to the side. So depending where I was going to put my next bit of information, right now I'm going to put it this way. And I just want to see how I want to play this out. So again, some wording. We're going to talk about the queen. I'll go up and pick my font again. And workers. Font again. And all about the drones. And please remember this, tonight we're just talking about beekeeping because we're all beekeepers. This could be a garden club. This could be, a talk for kids that you're going to kind of really dumbify this down just to be the basics to let kids understand what's going on. The color, I want it to be a little bit, let's do some red. I'm gonna we'll go with some burgundy on that. Again, I can blow this up. And then I can go out here. I'm going to kind of follow this arch over here off to the side. And like we were talking before, when you watch other presentations from anybody, a lot of the time I do watch the presentation, but I'll take a notebook and go, okay, I really like the layout. And then I'll just draw it out, draw the screen out and go, oh, that was there, this or that, or take my cell phone, take a picture of it. Maybe there was a graphic or something I really liked. You're don't duplicate it down to the absolute picture and the wire and everything else and the wording that he or she had, but it's given me a layout of something that really popped. Or if you hear, I listen to the audience also. If I hear the audience go, oh, well, like that, they just had the one for the Apis and it had the animated map of all the commercial. Really neat, a really neat slide. Something else you could put in here. So there's my basics on that. You can turn around, put a queen in here. You can make it pop it up if you had the graphics to it. So for this, I'm going to go into that transition also, or excuse me, animation. So instead of flying in now, I'm going to have it float in. Real nice and slow. Float in again. Float in again. So I like the layout a little bit. It's a little bit wonky as far as the alignment. You can play with this, and so, honestly, the best thing to do is to put together your PowerPoint, walk away, go to dinner, go do something, come back, and then do it again and go through your PowerPoint and go, did I like that? Or for me, I know this is driving me nuts. So I'm going to slide this open, and now I'm going to take the most important, everybody, all general public knows about the queen. They usually don't know workers or the name for it. So for me, and this is just my thing in it, I like that layout a little bit better. So everybody's going to go, the queen, the most important. She lives 1 to 2 years. She lays 1,500 eggs or 1,500 to 2,000 eggs every day. And you can go into this nice little flow flowing back to the bees. So a nice little thing. If you wanted to add noise to this, just as an extra caveat, you can go in here to, and I'm thinking it's under record. Nope. Animation slide. I think it's in insert. Audio. There's audio tracks that you can put into this or audio blips. And in that PDF that I'm going to send everybody for the clip art and backgrounds, there's also called MIDIs or MP4s. Or another thing to do is to take your cell phone out, just as easy. Take your cell phone out, put it on record for voice, be absolutely quiet, hold it up against your hive, take that sound for 20, 30 seconds, record it, and then actually use that also. You can turn on, put it right into your slideshow. And then we're going to talk about, you can record the audio if you have a microphone like everybody does on their PC and that. You could play, instead of Turon having to transfer that document, you could actually hit record, get ready to Turon record it right here in the center. And as you hit record, you could play it on your phone and record it right into that document. So another nice way to do that. Okay, so we're going to build up one more slide to this. I want to put in a video. I really like that background, but I want to add something else to it. I like this one. So now we're going to go down here again. Remember, watch the one that is highlighted that you're working on so you don't destroy one. So I want a new slide again. Again, I'm going to take their stuff out because I'm making this my own. I'm going to come over here and take Just, yeah, I definitely don't like that. Um, let's take this. If you find something that doesn't fit, you can morph it or pull it out, and then you can approve it. Right click if it doesn't fit, and then hit crop. And now I'm actually cutting that picture or cutting it to fit on that screen a little bit better. So right there it fits. On this one, I want to drop in a video. So I'm going to take my test video. I'm going to turn on and go to Insert, Video on this device. And I want you to think about this. On this device, when you take anything that's audio, video, pictures are inset within PowerPoint. They're kind of stuck there. Audio and video, you're going to turn around and take that file and carry it with you. So if you put it on, if you're going to take your, I don't have a jump drive with me right now. Oh, there I do. I'm going to take my PowerPoint and I'm going to put it on a thumb drive. I'm also going to take that video file or that audio file on that also. So when I go to the place, I'm going to do a test run and double check this. And if it's linked together, you're going to relink it and just double check everything right before your presentation. And you'll see a lot of presenters off the side before a presentation or they're early and kind of going through their slides to make sure everything links. Because sometimes you'll get there and you'll click the button and the video doesn't play or the audio doesn't play in the background. So for this, we're going to go here. I know right where I put it. Test video. Oh, come on. Insert. So for this, it's just a little audio or a little video of me walking out and walking around the colonies. I can double check it, make sure it's going to work. I can clip this down if I needed to. I can shrink that video down and turn on, shrink it and go, okay, I don't want it to be as long. The whole entire, I think it was out there for 30 seconds. And then I'll show you how to put this in your PowerPoint. And when you try and click the button, it's going to pop up and it's instantly going to play. So on your video here, now I want to pop up and let's put in some wording. And let's do colonies. Again, click this off to the side. Now that I have that dark background, now I want to turn on bleach out my wording. And I want my wording to match with that. And now I'm going to show people, the difference between an 8-frame Langstroth or a nuke. Where do the bees live? And you can go into a whole thing of that. When I go into the video, preset your audio if you had noise with it, if there's noise in the background, if you have a laptop, or they're plugging your laptop in with HDMI and they're going to play it across the whole entire audience, put that volume, excuse me, take that volume and go about halfway to 3/4 of the way, no more than that. Because if they're micing you or if you're using a microphone, you don't want to blast out their system and everybody cover their ears. If all else, they can quiet down and they can listen to it from there. Same way with audio, if an audio track or if the bee's going to fly around. So I have everything set. That's going to be my test slide. So when I have this come in, I want this, as soon as it pops up, I want it to start playing. So that's going to be my slide. The slide right now, when I build it on my PC, that video is tied into my slide on the desktop. So if I take this PowerPoint and leave and go to Michigan or go somewhere, my video is not going to work because it's not tied in. It thinks it's on the same device. So please take mental note of that. Anything video or audio, you want to put them on the same jump drive, the same laptop, the same device. When you go, when I get there, I'm going to run down through these slides real quick and just double check and go, okay, yes, everything's working. So when I get up on stage and I click that mouse, this thing's going to take right off. Again, I can come over here and let's just take a picture of, let's see, Jamie in the hives. Let me get a bee picture. My life, bees. Oh, come on. And let's see. Bees, my bees. And again, I'm going through the repository of all my pictures of stuff. Let's go make this quick. Bee friends. There. I got a story about Dwight Wilson the first time I started raising bees. And I want to give him a little bit of kudos that he helped me get into these bees. Or you could have bees in the background. It could be anything or the flowers you're talking about. And remember, if that's oversized, and I want to click this down a little bit, on your photo, once it's active and you see the dots, you can manipulate this any way you want. So I'm going to manipulate this. Remember, if you're dragging from the side, you're going to morph it and it's going to be unsteady. If I morph it and I go, I just goofed it up. Control Z puts it back. If I want to turn around and take this equal, I can take in the corner and I can drag this down, and now I can put Dwight up into the corner. Or if I want to say, and this is just for example only, say there was some dead area that I want to clip this up the bottom, that's just way too much dead area. Right click on the photo once it's active, crop, and now I can turn on, cut that up a little bit, and I can make this my own. I can come in here and close this in a little bit. Something that looks good, but you're not cropping half of their face or off or anything else. Now it fits a little bit better. I can go in here and do it that way. There's Dwight. For me personally, because Dwight was my mentor, I put him at the top. Let's put in the reason. Oh, there's a perfect picture. The other reason I got into beekeeping, my granddaughter. Same kind of thing. Remember photos. Photos will stay right with this. But it's the video that we're talking about. So as these pictures pop up, I could actually have the pictures on the next slide. So if we do a slide of this, let's just go to the slide and double check. Swap. Well, let's go swap so you guys can see it. I'm going to go back one slide, forward, queen, workers, drones. On that next click, there's my video. So now as that video is playing, if you have this timed out, I can go, these are Langstroth hives. That's a nuke at the top. And then I'm just taking a peek inside and see if the bees, just how active they are. And Dwight Wilson's the one that got me into beekeeping. And this is how I was introduced. Or you could have a story behind each video and each kind of thing that as that's playing, you're doing a little brief subject with that. That could be anything that you want, but it was a nice video, kind of blended in with it. So nice and easy. Let's go ahead and end this one. If you're going to add audio with it, I can add this. I go down to insert and I can add an audio track to this. So if you turn on and want to add something that maybe there was no back or no audio with the video. Now, if you turn on had, I just know far and away because I like it because I use it for OSBA. I can put some audio in the background. And now as this gets fired up, it's going to be my next click or as it starts in. Again, adjust my volume so I can still talk as a presenter, and this is going to be in the background. Draw attention to it, draw attention to the animation, and in click sequence. So if I get this right, in click sequence is here. I can fade in. So let's just fade in at the quarter mark and fade out at the half mark. And then again, on audio, I can have it traverse in, and I'll show you that here in a second. So on this slide, we're going to go, let me go switch this again so you can see it. All right, I'm going to go back. I like the flow of that. It's something I can say real quick. Don't have it be real long and lengthy, so that way you can say, they fly at 15 miles an hour. It takes 2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey, and all the facts that you have. All about the bees in the colony. Who knows the queen? And you can turn around and say, I personally, if it's a kid's room, I always look for a girl, ask for the girls to raise their hand, pick a girl in the dead center of the room. That's the queen in the colony. And the workers are all the other girls that have your hand raised. And all the boys raise your hand, and then you could go through the whole thing with the drones. Now, my next slide clicked over. And then on my next slide, on my next click, there's my video. My audio picked up. And now you can still hear me with the audio in the background. If this video had no audio to it, or if it had like a streetcar driving by, in the setup, I could actually shrink that audio down to be 0 here. So that video has no audio to output, but I'm using the audio here. And then at the end of this track, let me move it ahead. At the end of that track, then it's going to fade back out again. So you kind of time that out. You've went through and you've kind of talked out. You've kind of done your talk to fit with that. Nice background. It's kind of a good all over. And when you know you really got something good is when you can go, yeah, that really works. Let's get out of this. So just in 5 different slides, now you can go in here and start customizing things. That picture kind of blends right in with the background. If I want to make that pop, shape effects, I can put a shadow with it. I can put a glow. So I want to put let's do a blue glow with it. And that kind of matches up with the back. Same way with Dwight, special effects. I want I want to glow again. And with my video, I want to put a glow into that. So just something that matches with the lines and the back side of it. You can have these pop up individually. So if I really go, as my talk, as this goes on, I want Dwight to pop up. Animation and appear. And then you'll see this number 3. That'll be your 3rd click. And then my granddaughter, I want her to split and come together this way. And again, this is making it your own, the way you wanted to undo it and present it. Don't get crazy with every click. Then all of a sudden you're up there clicking 100 times just to get through a few different frames. And then we'll cover a lot of these buttons up top. So there's my PowerPoint. Pretty good. I liked it. Let's do a new slide. For me, I always like a nice closing in this for the fact that I want to close it out and give people opportunity to ask questions. So for me, let's grab, and this is all coming again from my repository. Oh, nope, I forgot to try and take this off. Oh, come on there. And you have to click that outside bar. And if you don't, that's going to kind of stay there and it's going to be a pain for you. So there's another picture I took from the outside. Here's the outside of my presentation. I can approve it. It overhung. Remember, right click, crop. I can crop it down a little bit and then go back in here, stretch it out a little bit. It didn't affect it, so it looks good. One thing I do with all of my talks, Let's go. Where's my Q&A? Q&A. And I'm just going to drag and drop this from another presentation because I don't have it up right now. I'm going to go Control C off another presentation, Control V. And let's say I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. It's going to offset it, so I apologize. And I want to delete that. And I don't like it. I would probably redesign one with a different color because of that coming in. Some other things I can do to that. Insert. Let's say design. Now, let's see, home. Let's see if I can add some effects to this and a shadow. Make it pop just a little bit. Shadow, glow. Yeah, that's not bad there. So just a little bit different. And then the last slide I always have, and I've really been trying to be conscious about this, because a lot of people are like, well, why don't you put something in about yourself at the end? So I started doing this a couple years ago. I want to do a new slide. Again, clicking off of that, Control V. And let's put this background in here. And remember, I just built this the opposite way. Please remember layers of a cake. So when you're building everything in that cake, so just put my background on top. I can hold Control and Shift down. I can turn on also use this. So get on my background, right click, send to back, and right there. Always do that last one, your Q&A, and then put your contact information in there. I don't like the background on this because I always, for most of my PowerPoints at the beginning, I always liked a black background, so it really popped on the wall. Now I'm starting to change colors and starting to put themes with it and really doing things up nice. So this, you could put your background information that glowed a little bit. You could pull this down just a little bit. So the Katie has that glow. I would change the artwork on this so it wasn't squared off because pop quiz, Miss Carol. Which one's a JPEG and which one's a or PNG? All right, I'm gonna say Joseph. Nope, still unmuted. There you go. Nope.
There. The
All
bottom
right.
is the JPEG.
Yep, bottom's the JPEG. Very good. It has that outside border to it. I could take this if I had it in my repository or my clip art and actually zip the outside right off. This is the PNG. It has that transparent background. No different than with Katie's. This is a PNG, and then I put the glow to it. So just something that you can kind of set up yourself. All of these things that you have, you can add different things to it. So let's just I'm going to do just to add some other animation. So I got a 7-point PowerPoint right now. On an hour talk, I would do no more than 30 if you're actually going to click on it and have something to talk about. So if I'm going to talk about everything on this slide, I count that down for 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to practice this out too many, many times. If I'm going to get onto that 1 pound, and do the facts and leave it open for a Q&A, always account for at least, depending on the activity of the room. Sometimes it's hard to take questions in the middle because you have to cut somebody off because all of a sudden it's always the first person that goes, I got a question. Or I haven't, I go, does that count trees? Absolutely. And all of a sudden, then you got 15 hands coming up. And then try to cut them off. You know, take 2 or 3 questions or 2 or 3 statements and then say, okay, we have to move on and try to be polite about it. You know, if you're gonna do a little bit of storytelling, kind of open that up a little bit. Your Q&A at the end, I can't say this enough, and this is nothing against anybody. I always say, here's the questions. And I have a statement that I put in there. There are no dumb questions. So I want to do that for everybody. So especially if you're going to watch the recording later, there are no dumb questions. And why do I do that? The first person that will ask the question is always the person that you have to drag it out of. And I always put it in red, always blow it up. And sometimes I will actually do a thumb clicker on that and do a transit. And I usually do. I usually have it appear. So it'll pop up and do Q&A and I'll ask for questions. If I get nobody that asks questions, my next mouse click is going to be, it's going to pop up and say there's no dumb questions because everybody's got to learn a different way. And I promise you, if one person asks that question, it's usually somebody else in the audience that wants to ask that same question, but they're too scared. Once you get 3 and 4 hands raised, then you have a nice flow. Sometimes I've got the cane look of, hey, get off the stage because the conversation keeps going. But as soon as you walk off that stage, as soon as you get done and they say thank you very much and they applaud, you're going to get surrounded with 10 to 15 people asking all those little tiny questions again of, well, how did that, I mean, what can I do to save the bees and this? And so it goes on and on and on and on. Some other things to do in this, I want you, and I took some notes for myself in this. When you start building your repository up, make this all your own stuff. You know, if you're really good at collecting propolis, or you're really good, and we don't even have to talk about bees, you turn put up a pollinator sanctuary, and you're good at the master gardening side of this, and you can talk about the bees and the pollinators and the solitary bees. This is your talk. This is your presentation to really, really shine. The slides, always stick with the key points. And I used to do this, and I'll pop up a couple other ones towards the end of this, at the end of our hour, and show you some mistakes that I made. I used to have tons and tons of wording about King Tut, you know, his clay ebbers and the whole 9 yards. And I seen people doing this, and they're looking, they're trying to read, and I'm talking, and I just put on, you know, who's Howard Carter? And everybody looks at everybody. Well, he found who? Still looking at everybody. He found King Tut. Then I go to the slide and there's tons of words. I took all that off and now I put the ancient Egyptian. It shows the guy on the ladder collecting honey out of the tree and just made icons that in my mind it triggers me to go. And then I have the headpiece, the gold headpiece of King Tut. So now I know icons and that creates my conversation. I have a good introduction. We can try and make this all the way down through and you can really start diving in all about the bees. A little bit of story time behind it, the questions, and then closing. You know, I do it personally that if I make a statement on stage and you want help, contact me and I'll help you with beekeeping. That's my gig. If you turn around and say, okay, you know, reach me at email and you don't want them to call your cell phone, take off your cell phone. Because at the end of this, you're going to have friends all over the place and they're going to go, hey, I seen you at X, you know, I saw you in Pennsylvania. You remember me? It is really hard to tell people, no, but could you tell me and let me help you out? So just remember what you put out there is for everybody, especially if you're going to be recorded and things later on. So let's just go through some of the basics on the top of this. And this is for Windows PowerPoint. You can go in here and draw different lines. I can go in here, do different things. If I don't like it, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. So I can take things off as I don't like it, or as if I don't like it. Transitions are morph and fade ins and push. So the next slide that comes up, it's gonna split from the middle. Okay. You can turn on have it cut, do barn doors where it flips cover. I'll show you a neat one on morph. I like morph more than anything because I can take one slide and actually make it into a couple slides and add animation to it on the cheap and make it easy. Let me get rid of the draw tool. I'm going to take this. It's the same one here, and this goes for morph. So this same heading was duplicated into the second one, but I want it now to shrink up. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to kick this down to, let's just do 28. Oh, nope, I did it on the wrong slide. See, even good people turn on make a mistake. I want to kick this down to, I want the whole thing. Come on. The whole thing. And I want to take this down to just the important facts. We're going to kick it down to 32. Just so if I have the same thing that pops up from slide to slide, it's going to slide these things around, and I'll show you. So let's just go the first slide. Let's go to the morph. I'm going to switch this around so we can present. Here's my first mouse click. I'm going to turn around and go into it. There's my bee. Oh, we'll animate him here in a second. There's my second one. If you noticed how they just switched. Okay. So the wording shrunk. These things moved around a little bit. Not impressive. If I take these and if I duplicated the next slide and I want to change things around, I can go 1, hold control, number 2, go to transitions and go to morph. Notice the animation. So now I'm going to go back to slide 1. I'm going to do my PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and switch this so everybody can see it. Now on my first mouse click, I'm going to talk important facts about beekeeping. You know, maybe somebody introduces you. My version number's in the corner, so I'm real good and set. My next click on my mouse or my wand or my presenter, and I'll show you some different ones on presenting. There's ones that click in with a USB into your mouse. You hold the laser and find one that fits your hands. I've got ones that look like a pencil. I have a thick one. I have one that goes around. It looks like a ring that goes around my finger, and I just hold it and it charges up. Then I can click through it. Find something that, and always buy at least 2. Have extra batteries. That's one of my key points. If you turn on do your PowerPoint and you're clicking and nothing's happening, the batteries have died. Or if you're really good, after I do 2 or 3, I rotate those batteries out, bring them here to the house for a clock or something, and put new batteries in. So there's my PowerPoint. I'm at the top. Boom. There's my bee, and we'll animate him. My next one is going to be the morph. You'll notice how everything slid around, and it made it as though I did all this animatronics and animation to really make it look neat. If I go back, all it is taking the same icons and switching them around for the next slide. So then I can turn on and do, I'm Jamie Walters, and kick right off after the person introduces you. 1 pound of honey. Now it's not going to morph the jar because it wasn't resized. If I wanted to, I could go back down in here because I duplicated it from one slide to the next. I could actually shrink this up a little bit. 1, hold control, 2, 3, morph. So now when I do PowerPoint, there's my jar. Person introduces me. 1. Oh, nope, I didn't go all the way back to 1. Nope, my fault. So slide 1. I'm getting ready to do, and sometimes I do animation before I even get up and start talking. just to draw their attention. There's my morph. Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Walters. I just come here tonight. I am glad to meet everybody. Then you can turn on and go into your whole thing. So my morph on my next, notice how the jar moved back a little bit. So it's nice and easy and it's consistent. The little moving little bits, from a bee to moving across the screen and doing things, draws people attention. That keeps them. I call it basically sucked into the PowerPoint, and then they're listening to your words. So your next slide would be all about the bees. So in this transformation, I like the morph on it. For me, I like morph better than all of these things, but try each one. You can turn it on. So I can click morph and go, you know what? I really didn't like that. And I can turn it off. I really didn't like it. I liked it on the first two, but I want to turn it off the third one. Click it off. So now it's just going to turn on and go in. Animation is all those things that you want to pop up or do something when they come into the screen. And each one of these, as you see 1, 2, and 3, the first click is going to bring it to that slide. The next one, so 1 of that screen is going to be the flowers. Click number 2, they fly in for 15 miles an hour. Number 3, Q&A. So I'm going to have 4 clicks into this slide. Same way with this next one. Once I turn on animation, I can confirm all my animations that it's going to flow nice and easy. Now it's going to pop up the bees. Maybe instead of the bees here, I could add in the speaker and put in some sounds of bees. Then it pops up the title. Then it goes queen, worker, and drone. Just depends how much you want to put in with this to do it. Same way here, I have that nice sound in the background. I have the video playing. I have the pictures that pop up. Here at the end, I can turn on have this. Oh, let's go right here. And let's do random bars. That's going to come in for that. Anything that you have in animation and transitions, I can do that on the click, and I can delay it, or the duration of it. Instead of it going fast, I can delay this out, and we're going to do a crazy amount here, like 8 seconds, 8/10 of a second. But I'm going to do grow and turn. Let's do at least, let's go crazy on it. Okay. So there's my PowerPoint. The slideshow itself has this version of it, has a rehearsal with a coach. You're going through, you're letting someone else listen to it. The slideshow setup, hide slideshow, and this depends on what your screen is. Most of you that are going to take a laptop, when you plug it into a device, it's going to have an HDMI, and it's going to duplicate your screen that you're seeing, or it's going to turn around and pop up let me pop it up for you so I can show you. This is what you're going to see on your laptop. And then this, let me go to switch your display. This is what everybody else is going to see. So that's one thing to have. Let me switch this back again. When I start my PowerPoint, my timer starts. And this is absolutely critical for doing this. So if I'm going to go up on stage, I turn on and do reset. So when I'm practicing at home, oh, let me pause. I sit in my office and my wife hates it, to be honest. I'm in here talking all the time. As I'm going through my PowerPoint, when you're really getting good at this and you want it to flow, I'm going to go in here and start going through my PowerPoint. Okay, I'm going to put in here 20, 30 seconds for an introduction, depending on what my introduction is. Boom. My bee's going to fly. We're going to do that. My morph. Hi, everybody. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about the importance fact of beekeeping. And then I'm going to add stuff to that. Everybody has that 1 pound of honey. What's it take to get that 1 pound of honey? It takes 2 million flowers. So where are you going to get those 2 million flowers? Clover on the ground. It could be the trees. It could be the shrubs. And you could go on and on for that. as I'm going through this and really kind of hitting to my key points, I want to take notes, really good notes that here's the, and you don't have to put in long words. Here's some key features I want to have in that slide. I want to talk about the trees, flowers, shrubs. And all I'm doing is writing the words down, trees, flowers, shrubs. Where are you going to find that, where those shrubs are at? Where else could you find the pollinators or flowers and different things? And you can turn around and say, talk about trees, on the same slide. Do you want to open that up for a Q&A? And that's completely up to the presenter. As you open that up, that slide's going to take a lot longer. So sometimes I'll go, let's add 3 minutes to that. My next one, let's talk about the bees within the colony. We have the all-important queen. We have the workers that do 90% of the work inside, and then you could go into a whole thing of that. And then the drones. Know your audience for drones. If it's little kids, those are the boys. And you go out and court, I always say they're courting the queen. When you start getting into teenagers and that, they mate. You don't have to go into explicit. They mate with the queen and blah, blah, blah. Time out your video. So everything's a nice thing. And as that's playing, my mentor was Dwight Wilson. He's the one that got me into this whole thing and blah, 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 blah. And then I want to pass it on to the younger generation. And I had that nice little color, the colors match with the background, that nice animation with it. And you can time the slide out with the music. Or if the slide quits before and you've already kind of done your thing, click right to the next. But you're going to cut your music off. So thank you very much for everybody's attention. I'm honored to be here. Anybody have any questions? And you'll instantly get that look if they're looking at the ceiling, looking at their phone, or looking at the floor. Now, just to let you know, there are no dumb questions. And then all of a sudden you'll get one person and everybody always looks around and goes, I got this one dumb question. I think it's dumb, but how do you get the honey? And then you can turn around and go up into that. At the end, after your introduction, if you want to try and contact me, there's my information. It's up to you. When you click the next one, because we put the delay on it so long, watch how long this takes. Forever. So you could do a whole thing behind that and let them know, there's the animation at the end. You can contact me at Jamie Walters, 438-7335 or j.walters, 1054. There's your presentation. Then I'm going to look up here, plus my Q&A time, and kind of get that down to most presentations are going to last 30 to 40 minutes. It could be a public library. It could be a classroom. Always have that information up front to know what your time slot is, that you can turn on and say, okay, I need to cut this down by X. Some other tips in here. Your review, is basic. There's some things in here. You can put side notes into it. Your coloring, slide outs. If I ever go in here, the ones that I use the most is right at the bottom. There's a little one. It looks like a little four squares. Per se, I did this talk and I go, hey, this didn't sound right. I want to take this slide and put it up there. I want to talk about, how I got into beekeeping in that. After the bees, maybe I want to talk about the bees. Then I'm going to get into the honey. Then when you go back into your build, now that's already, you can still slide it here one at a time or two at a time. But I like to go here and have all my slides here about what worked, what didn't, what sounded good. If you ever get to a presentation and you go, okay, that one just did not work, you could take that slide, right click once, and hit hide slide. So now when I go through the slide, it's automatically going to jump over that slide that didn't work. Maybe it's because it was younger kids and you really got into a lot of detail, or vice versa. Or it didn't go into your flow, but it would be something for somebody else. You can also click back into it and put unhide slide. And I do that with a lot of talks. Any questions up to this point? Mr. Joseph, Clay, Miss Carol.
Can you make that little bee fly across the screen?
Yes. So there's my bee. If I do the animation, I can turn on and make loops or a custom path. Okay. And this is anything. I could have that jar come in and do tumbles. A custom path means I'm going to take this bee and I'm going to have it come over here and zip right on out, right outside. So that's in animation. So the ones you're really going to use the most is home. There's where your stuff's at. Insert is your video, audio, links, pictures, screenshots. Draw, if you want to custom draw things in. Transition, that one is the easiest is morph, if you're going to use like one slide to the next slide. Animation, and then the rest of these are there to help you. Set it up, record it, review it. So in my PowerPoint now, so we'll go to that, display, swap. So as that person introduces you, there's that bee, it flies off. Or if you go, hey, that bee's just flying way too fast. Come over, insert again. Go to go to the animation. I want to slow that bee down. The duration took 2 seconds. Now I want the bee to fly a little bit slower. Home. Number 1 slide. So now you get to the introduction. Now as you're doing the introduction, where's the attention on the screen? You could do that, flash in your name, anything you wanted to do. So the next one, there's the morph. There's a slide, transition, the video, nice with the music. As this next animation, this is showing you on your laptop. If you're in a presentation like you're at a stand, you know the next slide it's going to come up, and that helps you also. Some presenter stands off to the side because they know this thing over and over and over. The next slide, if you let that time out, have your timing down, or you can take your audio and okay, at the 1.5 minute mark, I want it to fade out, and you can time that out. All about the bees, the queen, the worker, the drone, the 1 pound of honey. Nice animation, it slides in, Q&A, and then your contact information after that. And because we slowed it down so much, you can turn around and say that out before it pops up. Always leave that last little bit up because everybody takes their cell phone then and everybody's taking pictures of it. Hopefully that showed you guys a little bit more, and everybody that's going to watch the recording, a little bit more about PowerPoint. Anybody can do this. If you want some one-on-one time with me, make up a PowerPoint, send it to me, or we'll talk about how to send it, and I'll walk you through step by step. I'm not going to critique you any more than you'll probably critique yourself. And so showing you one of the ones, and let me do a 1-day introduction. Here's mine at the beginning, and this is how I kind of took things off. I don't do this anymore. Albert Einstein says there's no more bees, there's no more food, there's no more plants, there's no more food. You can try and put little phrases. Some people will catch that. But when you really start going into things like this, like I talked about last time, have a handout and tell people, we're just going to go through the welcoming of this. This is an introduction to beekeeping. It's what I do for BSBA. Have a handout for it. So people aren't trying to write all this down. Same way with resources. When you really start getting wordy, let me see down here. I think I got, this is what I used to do. And this is Jamie's. These are some of my oldest slides. The Age of King Tut, only the royal, and I used to almost say that word for word, and it used to drive me nuts. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to pick up on some of it. This, all of a sudden, as you're feeding off your audience, they're looking at that, not listening to you, and they're trying to concentrate. You hit the highlights, and all of a sudden you went to the next slide. Very pertinent about bees, the history of animals, with Virgil. So all of a sudden now you got the first book about bees, that they thought there was kings inside the colony instead of queens. And then I'm putting in all this information thinking, oh, this is really good. It just drives people nuts. I actually took that picture at Langstraw's house that he grew up in, a picture of him. Keep that down to the necessities of, maybe his birth date, his date of passing, and that he's the grandfather of modern day beekeeping. So now I just got a key phrase that would kind of send that off. So you learn as you do this. You learn as a presenter. You learn off other people. Watch other people. You will never watch a presentation again the same way. You're going to be making notes off to the side. What sounded good, what didn't, some facts that you didn't know about, and then come back, do a presentation. So my other footnotes is practice, practice, practice. Get your timing down. Get your verbiage down so you could have, maybe you could run, if you're standing behind a podium, you could have some key words down through there that if you slip up, what's it about? Some other things you can do as a presenter on this side of it is down here at the bottom, I can put keynotes in here. So I can put in here, and you'll see this many, many times in mine. If you were behind the podium, take a deep breath. Sometimes I get going so fast, it's like, okay, take a deep breath. Ask questions, or sometimes in my presentations, it says KF, key facts, and it just has a couple words. So if it's a brand new presentation that I don't know, or that I just put together and I'm not so sure and I didn't have time to practice, as this is popping up, it's giving me my keynotes to it. And then you can go down through each one of these, put in here keynotes, or on this one, it'd be a key fact. No dumb questions. Well, if I spelled dumb right. Dumb. So as I'm doing this, I know that next slide's going to pop right up. So remember, here's some other things to think about. After I save this, I'm going to go File, Save. I'm going to put this on my desktop. Presentation, I'm just going to call it Presentation 1 right now. Presentation 1 is going to pop up on here. There's my test video that's going to go along with that. And then I'm going to grab that audio file and put in there too, which is buried somewhere. But anything with video or audio, I'm going to put on this. I can take this and go, let me just jack one in right now. I can show you the difference. Let's do a jump drive. And as soon as it acknowledges that. So when I turn on and click this, I'm going to go down to and N. Come on, see the jump drive. Or maybe that one's dead. Come on. All right, somehow my jump drive's not popping in. If I have my jump drive in here that I'm going to put it on, wherever that's at, oh, there it goes. Okay. Oh, that's a boot one. When I take my presentation, I do this, and this is just for me. And this will save you in the end. Folder. Main. Folder. Main BK. So here's my main presentation. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to drag it over to main. I'm going to hit copy here. It's going to copy that presentation in there. And then I'm also going to go main again with my audio, video, or anything else and copy into my backup. That way, if I get there and it pops up and it doesn't load right away, it's there. Also, if you have Google Drive, here's my Google Drive that's tied into my laptop or that I can get access to. My drive, I'm going to go in here and do, I'm getting ready to go to Michigan here in another week or two. There's my Michigan, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to slide that over again. So now I have it on thumb drive, I have it on the device, and I have it in the cloud or Google Drive. For the fact, if something goes wrong, if I go there and I don't want it scanned. Nope. Stop. Yes. Yes, please. Sorry about that. If I have my PowerPoint and something goes wrong and I'm on the way up there or I get up there, I can pull this off the cloud, depending on the size. And you look, 5 slides, and look how long it's taken to put onto a jump drive. So make sure you have plenty of time to get there. If you open it up and that test drive, and this is the difference between a PowerPoint going well and a PowerPoint stinking. I go down to my video and I do it off to the side maybe an hour or two before. And that video now remembered when I built it, it was tied to the desktop on my PC. Anytime you get there, take that thumb drive and put both of those icons, put both of those things on the desktop. So if it's on your desktop, right there's instead of the PowerPoint feeding off your jump drive, depending on the speed of your device, or you put it in somebody else's laptop, it might be slow and you're going to get a lag to it. Take these things and drag it back to the desktop and put them on the desktop, and then go through your PowerPoint and go, okay, oh, I hit this. I hit my video. Well, let's just say my video froze and it's not working. Okay, then go back in your PowerPoint and relink this, insert video from this device. So it's remembering that it's tied to it. You broke the connection when you went somewhere. If you have it on a laptop and build it on a laptop, it'll be fine. But if you had to transition between devices or a jump drive or Google, relink that back together, relink your audio track, that you have it all in that file, put it on the desktop of the device you're using, and as it pulls that memory, it's going to be much, much faster, and it'll be flawless. So those are my tips for tonight. Hopefully somebody learned something out of it. Hopefully those of you that are going to watch the recording learned something out of it. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me. And if you have a personal one that you want to kind of go through and you don't understand all the times and dates or understand the transitions or animations and how to do things, I'm more than well to work with you on one-on-one. Other than that, sorry for keeping you over. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Miss Carol, thank you.
Thank you.
Joseph and Clay and iPad. Not sure who that is.
I can only see the top of their head.
There he is.
Ah,
Thank you,
David.
Jamie. Always a pleasure.
Always.
learning.
Thank you.
Next week, we're going to go over graphics and how to create some of these things, just not for a newsletter, but for a PowerPoint, for your desktop, and how to take these pictures and do different stuff. And we're going to change things in free versions of Photoshop, some different things you can use with that, Corel, Paint, and how to set some of these things up that when you go out and take a picture, how to bleach different things out, how to set it up, that it really, really looks nice and has that wow factor to it. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully you learned at least one thing.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.